Are you really shy or are you just having a moment? This is Dr. Spencer Coaches. Today I'm going to talk to you about shyness, introvertedness, and extrovertedness because there are a lot of people who I meet, they come across as being shy, but when in fact they're not, because once they start talking, they love sharing what's in their life. And I discovered that the shyness is really just a story. So if you think you're shy or believe you're shy, you may not be shy. Now, I grew up in a home that was really, let's just say, not a lot of empathy going on. And me as a cancer man, I was always very emotional. And I found myself, my feelings being shamed a lot. So I tried to hide my feelings. And that's what created a certain shyness in me. And then I only hung out with, I remember in elementary school, I was into remote control cars. And I didn't talk to anybody until I met somebody else who was also in the remote control cars, or was sixth grade. And then I was like, oh my God, someone else is in their remote control cars. And I love talking to them. I love sharing everything about it. And I love the interaction. And I realized I actually do still love spending time with people. Then I got into skateboarding and I just got thrown to a whole nother world of having to be a performer in front of a crowd of people. And I rather enjoyed it. I liked the crowd. I liked being the spectacle, if you so to speak. I liked being on stage, and I liked that kind of way of life. At least back then I did. And I began to meet different people from all walks of life, and not all walks of life, but different people who skateboarded from all different areas. I had more friends outside of my hometown, home city, than I did in my own city from skateboarding. And that exposed me to a lot of different types of personalities, and I learned to socialize. And I learned social cues, and I learned how to interact and engage people in a fun way. I mean, being a teenager is a little different than being an adult, but I had a lot of fun doing that. And as I got older, I went through a shy period again, and I went into an extroverted period again. And I began to wonder, what am I? So I did some research on this. And there's actually a school of belief where there's four types of people. There is the extroverted extrovert, the introverted extrovert, the extroverted introvert, and the introverted introvert. So the extroverted extrovert is the socialite. They know who's doing who's who and what's happening and what's going on, and they know how to be entertaining and make you laugh and be savvy. Then there is the introverted extrovert who loves hanging out with people, gets energized from hanging out with people. All extroverts get energized from hanging around people, from spending time with people. Introverts do not. Introverts get exhausted from spending time with people. But they do spend time alone. They enjoy spending time alone because maybe they have a hobby that requires certain alone time and enables them to focus. But deep down inside, they crave talking to people because that's how they get energized. An extrovert can't stand spending time alone. An extroverted introvert, which is I discovered what I am, is I love talking to people. I enjoy the company of others, but eventually it tires me out. And I got to spend time alone to re-energize. And then there's the introverted introvert who can't stand spending time with people. It exhausts them to no end, and they re-energize by spending time alone. Now, where I'm at, there's a lot of shy people, and I began to wonder, it's a very antisocial area where I am, and I began to wonder what's going on. There's a lot of engineers, I'll put it that way, in my area, and they're not exactly social people. When I took a class in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the professor he seemed very shy. And I began to wonder, man, this guy's a black belt. This guy knows all that there is to know practically. Like, he's a much more knowledgeable person. Where is his confidence? And I began to wonder, and I started to talk to him about some things, and he began to open up. And once I realized that all I got to do is talk to him about things he's interested in, and he'll be more than willing to share things and have a conversation. But he was very self-conscious. And I notice this in a lot of shy people, is there's a high degree of in other words, they're worried about what you think of them. They're worried about being judged. And that worry is so paralyzing that it keeps them from really opening up and emoting. For me, when I go through I went through my shy period because I didn't know how to emote. I didn't have the vocabulary to express my emotions. And once I had a vocabulary, it became very easy for me because I realized I've been around so many people that nobody is out to demoralize me. Nobody is out to disrespect me. Nobody is out to flat out intentionally reject me to make me feel hurt. It usually arises from some sort of miscommunication or just an extreme difference in values where there is disagreement or the opposite of, the not wanting to talk to somebody. I found that shyness is really just a story I told myself to keep myself safe, to make it so I didn't have to learn anything, to stay in a comfort zone. But once I learned how to talk to people and began to read social cues, because that's what it really boils down to, I rather enjoy people. I like hanging out with people, and I realize I'm not shy. But it still is tiring at times, and I eventually recharge spending time alone, like going hiking, going to the gym, or just relaxing watching a great movie. The shyness, though, wasn't real. And so I began to investigate this in the introverted shy people that I met. Are they really shy, or is it just a story they tell themselves? Because we as human beings are social creatures. We don't survive all alone. We have, throughout thousands of years, we as human beings survived in tribes and villages where everybody knew each other. Everybody knew each other's business, and everybody really knew each other. But everybody had a place. Nobody was a reject. They found a place no matter what kind of personality, no matter what your cravings, your tastes, your values, there was a place for you. So you always felt a sense of belonging. I think in today's time, there's a high degree of independence, and there's a lot of lonely people out there, and there's a strong feeling from many people that they don't belong. And I couldn't put a finger on this until I realized that it boils down to a lack of reading social cues. If you don't know how to read social cues, it becomes very difficult to read a person's intention. And for whatever reason, you may carry a bad memory of a bad interaction you had when you were younger and think that people are out to make fun of you, they're out to mock you, they're out to disrespect you, they're out to double cross you. You may have this high degree of suspicion, which causes you to shy away from meeting people. And you may read or misinterpret, so to speak, social cues and think that there is a reason to be afraid when in fact there is no reason to be afraid. There's fear stands for false expectation appearing real. So when you learn how to read social cues, it makes life a lot easier in interpreting someone's behavior and why they're talking to you and what they're saying to you to respond appropriately. And when you understand the lingo, the values, the innuendos, the idioms and the axioms and the metaphors of your culture, it makes it a lot easier to engage people. Because ultimately, everyone's really just saying either nothing at all or I love you underneath it all. People look for validation. There's a high degree of make me feel significant because there's a lack of confidence. There's a lack of self-worth and self-esteem in many people today. And that kind of shyness comes from low self-worth. And it really comes from not valuing your own emotions. And then the fear arises and your brain is hardwired to protect yourself, so you avoid people, avoid talking to people, avoid social interactions, and you come across as being shy. But deep down inside, you want to connect with somebody. Otherwise, you wouldn't be seeking somebody out of the opposite sex. You want somebody you can confide in. You see, there's 4 levels of trust building. The first level is common ground. That's usually your classmates, your coworkers. You usually talk about current events and just the environment you're in, such as the work environment or the classroom or the school you're in. And there's a degree of common interest. You both like soccer. You both like Dungeons and Dragons. You both like Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. You both like mountain biking. Whatever it is, there's a similar interest, and you share that common interest. So there's a camaraderie. And then you get to know each other. And you start to agree, well, yeah, if you need help, I'll help you. And if you can help me, I'd appreciate it. And you get to the neighbor level. And that's what the neighbors are. Neighbors don't really know you. You don't know them, but you're certainly willing to help them out. You're certainly willing to house watch them or feed their pets while they're gone, borrow some flour when you run out, so to speak. And then there's the friendship level, which is a higher degree of trust where you actually know each other. You can talk to each other and confide in each other. You know this person is on your side. They're not out to get you. You trust them to that degree. And you both share in the experience of laughter and joy together. And even to some degree, some hardship and crying. Then there's the family level. There's a higher degree of loyalty. There's an unconditional love. And that's when you help your family. And it doesn't have to be blood family. This can be your tight, inner circle of friends where you help them bury a body, no questions asked. And that's a very high degree of trust where you have each other's back no matter what. Now, what I found with a lot of people, including myself, is I wanted to skip over the common ground and skip over the neighbor and go right into friendship level without cultivating trust, without earning someone's trust, and without making them earn my trust. You see, it's all about degrees of trust. When you don't know how to earn someone's trust, you don't know how to create the right test to make them earn your trust, you're going to be shy. There's a social awkwardness. There's an uncertainty of what to say and how to say it and what to talk about and what to share because you don't trust them and you don't know if they're trustworthy or not because you're not reading social cues. Once you learn how to read social cues, then you get to know where a person stands. You can read their character. Are they consistent in their words? Are they just fun to be around? There's always that party person who's fun to be around, but, they get into trouble all the time. You hang out with them every now and then, but you don't tell them personal things. There are people who are troublemakers, yet they'll have your back through thick and thin, so you put up with that. Yet that's not a high quality relationship because they may get you into trouble. So there's all kinds of relationships, all kinds of friendships. But shyness is really a story you tell yourself. Unless you're an introverted introvert and you really just despise talking to people and you don't care about anybody and you're indifferent, which is not a good place to be, you can call yourself shy. My father is that way. He's not shy, though. He's actually was a real socialite. And when I was younger, he seemed like a great socialite, but actually he can't stand to be around people. There are people who are genuinely shy, who it just drains them to be around people. You don't know any social cues, and you don't know the lingo of your culture, and there's nothing to say. For me, it was the ability to articulate my feelings and emote and empathize with people. And once I learned how to do that, I really enjoyed relating to others and being in relationship with others, with friendship, even acquaintances, even just small talk, even just, first degree relationship. I enjoy it. It's energizing to me. But I also enjoy spending time alone, going for hikes by myself, going to the gym by myself, going on bike rides alone because I can go my own pace and not have to wait for anybody. There's certain things I like doing alone. Shyness is relative to circumstance. Often when you're experiencing shyness, you're exhausted. You're emotionally and mentally exhausted, where it's hard for you to muster up energy, enthusiasm to be around people. And you need to just recuperate. You need to re-energize. You need to recenter yourself. You need to get back in who you are, your authentic self, and then relate to people from there. Trusting a person's word. Does a person do what they say they're going to do? Are they who they say they are? That is often a sign of trustworthiness. You may not like the same things, you may not share the same values, but you can certainly trust what they say. So usually that's an establishment of a healthy work relationship. And then you start to bond on similar interests or similar values. You may bond on similar interests, but it's really bonding on the certain values, similar value systems that creates friendship. When you both care about the same things in life, that often deepens the bond to a higher degree than just playing soccer together or just working out together. And when you can get to that level, you've got to earn that level. You got to work your way to that level. You don't just start off there. It's very awkward to expect someone to share their personal stuff when they don't even know your name. So people get afraid of, I don't want, why do you want to know what I do for work? What are you going to judge me? No, most men are passionate about their careers. Don't you want to share what you're passionate about? So when people feel self-conscious, it's because they're afraid that they're going to be judged. They're going to be rejected. They're going to be disrespected. And more often than not, that doesn't happen. More often than not, they're carrying a memory, a bad memory of grade school where someone made fun of them and embarrassed them and put them down. Or maybe a sibling did that. And they're carrying that memory and projecting that memory onto every potential social circumstance that comes their way. And that's what produces a lot of shyness. When you learn to forgive that person of your past and you realize that person is that person, they were a jerk. It's probably the only jerk you're ever going to meet. Then you can get over the shyness and realize that people generally are good people. People want to help. People want to have a positive interaction. Very rarely will you ever meet a sociopath. Very rarely will you meet a true narcissist who is abusive and gaslights. Those are rare occasions. But yeah, they are out there, so you got to watch out. That's why you start off in the shallow end. Find out what you have common interest. And if you got to see each other every day, you might as well be on the same team. You may not have the same interest. I'm talking about coworkers here and neighbors. You might as well express goodwill because that's in your nature. You want to contribute. And just leave it at that. And if it fosters into something greater, then it does naturally. You can't force a friendship. You can't pretend to be best friends and not establish trust. Often the establishment of trust can be cultivated really quickly, but it's never instantaneously. And that's the problem of being shy, is you expect a friendship to be instantaneous. You expect the person to share the same hobbies as you do and share the same interest and lingo right off the bat. That's just not going to happen. Very rarely does that happen. Start off in the shallow end. Get to know the cultural context of what you're in. Familiarize yourself with it. And develop a sense of courage. And understand vocabulary. Develop vocabulary to express your disposition and your emotions and your beliefs. And you'll find that people will share in them. Now, what you can do to get over being shy, maybe you're not a socialite. You don't need to go party all the time to get over being shy. You can join clubs. You can join the soccer club, and you both like soccer and get to know people. You can join a cycling club, or you can join the Rotary Club and start networking. And I recommend just being transparent. You can say, hey, I just joined this club because, I spend a lot of time by myself and I just want to start talking to people. I'm actually a shy person. I don't really socialize and I want to get to know people. And you just be completely frank and people will respect that. You'll come across as being authentic and trustworthy and people will want to talk to you. Could be the Lions Club. It could be the Toastmasters Club. It doesn't have to be a party. It doesn't have to be the club and go dancing, and it doesn't have to be the bar. You don't have to be a party animal to learn how to socialize. I've gone through this myself, and I found this shyness, this sense of uncertainty and insecurity in me has held me back in many aspects of life, and it really slowed down the progress of my life. I can help you go through it, because this is a common occurrence when you're trying to get ahead in life. And you need to network to go talk to the right people, to bond with the higher ups so they know, because it's all about who you know, not about what you know in this world. And the more you're able to connect with people, the more opportunity is going to be presented to you. So you may think you're shy, but you're actually not. So let's discover what's possible for you. My contact information will be below this video. Go ahead and like, share, and subscribe. This is Dr. Spencer Coaches. I sure hope that helps. Thank you so much for listening.